sure throughout the years of dealing with Diddy over, I mean, how old is your son? Like in his 20s or something like that? She must have known something. Okay? She must have seen or known something. Now, unless she has signed an NDA to get her child support checks or whatever the situation is, maybe that has kept her like quiet for this whole time. Who knows? But I would say that she's responsible.
Gotcha. And so, Candace, it looks like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I just want to make one correction. So Misa's son is just Justin Dior Combs, and the other son, who is Kim Porter's son, is Christian Combs. And I think we want to just be clear about whose kid is who, right? And who she was referring to because of the claims and the validity of that. So I believe, yes, her son is Justin Combs. Yeah.
Got you. Thank you so much for that. And I wanted to also make the note that none of Diddy's closest friends have said anything. None of his closest friends have said anything. I heard your point, Athena, but I also wanted to name that Misa is basically saying that she's also been a victim of his brutality and violence. And so I'm wondering, and I don't know the answer to this question, ladies, about what you think about this, but what onus do victims have to speak out? Because I don't know what he has done or allegedly done or possibly done to Misa or any of the women that he has been involved in. And I can really understand how difficult it could be for victims to really speak out. Rosalind, would you like to give your take on that before we go to the video? You're on mute, Rosalind, but also I also wanted to ask you to speak to the effects of trauma in your response.
Cassie is my hero. And she's my hero because she found the wherewithal. She got the support she probably needed. Maybe she had a therapist. Who knows what kind of support that she had? Because it's going to take that kind of support when you're so vulnerable and you're being traumatized like that to do the thing that's going to give agency to yourself and help others in the process. So that is what a lot of victims deal with. They're dealing with the fallout of trauma, of thinking themselves somehow to blame sometimes in this whole fiasco. Sometimes the fear is runs so deep, and there are triggers. There are things that they need to oftentimes work out. And to the degree that they do or don't get healed, that's going to determine whether or not they're going to or have the ability to speak up. I am just so upset because as far as I'm concerned, it's not just about anybody who went to his freak off parties. Anyone who was involved in just the most lax way is an accomplice to Diddy's behavior. It's just not this woman, that person. There were people who were in positions of strength who weren't necessarily getting victimized like a Cassie, who could have been speaking out. But for whatever reasons, it's about their brand. It's because I don't want to get too messy. I don't want to get involved, or I'm even enjoying these freak offs at parties. This is what continues the darkness to spread. The darkness continued to spread because men did nothing.
Well, thank you for that, Rosalind. Now we are going to go to someone who is speaking out, someone who has been speaking out even before the lawsuit, before Cassie's lawsuit. This is Diddy's bodyguard. He was on Piers Morgan. Let's hear what he has to say. While that video was queuing up, Rosalind, you mentioned the freak offs. I wasn't trying to bring that word into the conversation. Athena, I know it's hilarious, right? Listen, my mom, Candace, has been watching this stuff. She's all in it. She's all on the blog. She's looking at all of the content creators. And I just laughed every time the word freak off came up. And my mom and I had this conversation about the freak offs because she's like, well, what is a freak off? I've never heard that. I'm like, Mom, you're asking the wrong person. I don't know anything about freak offs. This is new information to me. But apparently these Diddy parties were really intense and really physical. So yeah, we've been having that conversation. This is a new word that's been entered into the lexicon. So Rosalind, thank you for bringing this up.
My pleasure.
Yeah. No pun intended or pun intended, huh?
Candace, I have a question for you since you're in the music industry. Are those type of parties common to have those parties where like a lot of debauchery is basically going on? Is that part of the industry?
I would say those aren't the parties that he's referring to. The parties that I've attended, not necessarily Diddy parties. I've never seen any of those type of activities go down. The freak offs must be happening at the after parties. And the after parties are the late after hours for those who want to stick around and be there. I think that the general parties and the point of certain celebrities and certain people being in that space and being on camera could just be the proximity of being around Diddy and knowing that he has these freak offs at some point of the time in late night hours. But I don't think that that's happening between 9 and midnight or 9 and 1 a.m. I think that's that late night after party experience that we're referring to. But I don't think it's par for the court in the entertainment industry for regular parties to be that way. Those are the after parties for sure.
Well, I'm glad you said something. I was always curious. I was like, is this like a part of? Because it seemed like there's a lot of like seedy behavior.
Yeah.
I think that there's seedy behavior across the world, across all industries, right? It just gets really like, honed in on an entertainment industry because of how sensationalized and how, there's the celebrity and the Hollywood lifestyle and money and fame involved. So, the microscope gets put on the entertainment industry specifically. And then obviously those things, celebrity, money, fuel ego, and people want to get close to that. They want to get a scope and get close proximity to that. And it's about what you do with your power and your access, and not everyone, there are levels to it. Not everyone is going to do good by the responsibility that they get when they get money or power or celebrity. Sometimes they make bad decisions, and that's all a personal character thing, right? So that's across all industries, but specifically the light is shown on the entertainment industry, and we're talking about the entertainment industry because of Diddy's personal character and his bad behavior, right? So just sticking to the point of like, we all have a list that we have been on that we're not proud of. We've all been a part of something that we're not particularly, happy about. So I'm not saying that he's wrong or right. He's absolutely wrong for his behavior, absolutely wrong for what we've seen on the video. And for what I've even heard throughout my entire life before entering into the entertainment industry, I've heard seedy things about Diddy. I just didn't know the validity of it because I wasn't close to it at that point. But as I've grown and I've grown closer to the industry, I've learned a lot more about just people with his type of likeness and character. And it definitely shows and rings some truth to it. So, and then obviously this really confirms it. So it's really disheartening, but I know we have a video to go to, so I'll shut it down.
Thank you so much for that analysis. As someone who's, worked in the industry, that was extremely helpful. One of the commenters said while you were speaking, Candace, that the freak offs are Diddy's sexual Olympics. And Athena and I kind of chuckled when we saw that come across the screen. So we're going to go to the video now, because we were speaking about folks who were close to Diddy who were not holding him accountable. But this is Diddy's ex-bodyguard. Over to you. Right. While we're waiting for that video to queue up, I'm going to go to commercial. You are tuned into our Fly Nubian Money panel, and we are really excited to bring you content from intelligent Black women. We are here weekdays, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time at the Fly Nubian Queen TV YouTube channel. So join us live, come into the comments, share your thoughts with us, share your ideas with us, and definitely text the word Queens to the number 87948. That's Queens, Queens. Don't forget the S at the end. Text that word to the number 87948. So you'll be notified when we do go live. You'll be notified when we have special offers, free giveaways, special events, etc. We're really grateful to have you all with us today. Now, moving on. Until we get to the video, we have a lot of content. We have enough time to do this. I do want to read Revolt TV's statement. If you ladies remember, Diddy stepped down as chairman of Revolt. This was a media company that he owned. It brought a lot of great content from Black folks. In my opinion, they put on the Revolt Summit every year. He stepped down, and so someone else is taking over. So this statement from Revolt's new chairman came out several days ago in response to the Cassie video. It begins, "We are deeply saddened and disturbed by the recent video circulating from our former chairman, Sean Diddy Combs. Even with his recent separation from Revolt, it is still our duty to address this matter and recognize the direct impact it has on our staff, our audience, and the culture we represent. Revolt stands in solidarity with all who have been a victim of abuse and remain committed to upholding the values and integrity our community expects from us. We vehemently stand against any form of domestic abuse and will always be a fearless advocate for truth and accountability. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, help is available. Please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. I'm going to repeat that number. Please call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. So that was Revolt TV statement. Can we just sit with this for a moment? What impact could this video be having from regular people who have dealt with domestic violence, men and women, by the way, and people who are still dealing with domestic violence? What do you think about that, Athena?
I think that anyone who has personally dealt with domestic violence, I'm sure that video was very triggering. I'm sure it brought them back to different scenarios in their life where they experienced those things. For those of us who have not dealt with domestic violence in that case, it is very shocking to see how normal that type of behavior can be in those situations. And you definitely say a little prayer like, thank goodness that you're not in any kind of situation like that. I also think what could be an issue is that we could be having a hard time grasping the concept of someone staying in that situation for such a long time and having a relationship with that person. I know that that's very common in domestic violence situations because people were giving Cassie a lot of flack because even though she was enduring all of that stuff, Diddy was bankrolling her life. So a lot of people on the internet was giving her flack for, maybe she wasn't as a victim, or maybe she was just trying to do a money grab with the lawsuit. But I think the video definitely shut a lot of those critics up and gave certainly a lot of validity around her case. I'm curious to see, no one really knows how CNN came in contact with that video. If it was leaked somehow, did the feds drop it, or, what have you, because that would have been a great strategy, since that video would not have been permissible in court because of, the statute limits and also prejudice potentially from the video. But I do think that it's a great, this whole topic, even though it's kind of sensationalized, is a great teaching and learning lesson for us all when it comes to domestic violence.
Thank you so much for that, Athena. Rosalind, do you have any thoughts on this domestic violence, the impact of survivors and folks who are still experiencing domestic violence? You're muted. It's okay.
I think I love the mute, but okay, there we go. It's just amazing how delicate the human psyche and how we really are delicate beings. And there's a lot of different things that can traumatize us. And this one is really up the chain, because you're talking about being violated over and over again. You're talking about being demeaned. You're talking about your self-esteem waning. You're talking about fear. There's that control oftentimes between the victim and the perpetrator that is really runs deep. Fear of what happens. I'm sure that she probably was threatened. I have allegedly Combs is known for hurting people, maybe even taking people out. Not sure. This is what I've read. So if that's the case, she's probably fearing for her life. So those are all kind of different ingredients that are powerful ingredients that keep people hanging behind. And then there is this thing in your head where you are attached to that person. You really have some feelings for that person, and yet at the same time, it's all coalesces with the violence, and so all those things take time to part and to be sorted out and to be healed. And I find it interesting, by the way. I want to just comment on, it was Revolt. That was the name of the company, correct? It's
Yes.
oftentimes true that, look, it's been well known that Diddy's been doing different things for years, but it's not until it becomes graphic. You got the video now. There's nothing you can say. It's documented that people begin to jump up, and they're forced to have to respond to graphic proof. And unfortunately, it oftentimes takes graphic proof, a bunch of people coming together saying, "Foul, this guy is doing X, Y, and Z," and that's the only time people tend to sensationalize it, pay attention, and act. And that's unfortunate to me.
Thank you for that, Candace.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think we can really speak specifically to our community and our culture, right? Because I can't really speak to what's happening outside of that when it comes to these type of matters. As far as Diddy is concerned, sorry, I'm just reflecting on all of the things. When it comes to victims specifically, it, as Rosalind mentioned, it varies, right? Like Cassie's lawsuit empowered other victims to come forward, even victims who were who had experienced abuse from Diddy in the 90s and the early 2000s, before Cassie even became, his girlfriend or one of his victims. So that empowered her to come out. But I'm sure there are so many that have not come forward because of the ongoing trauma. It's a very personal matter when it comes to domestic violence, and it depends on where you are in your healing process. And sounds like Cassie has done the work to work on her healing, and she's being vindicated now. And I'm happy to see that. And I'm happy to see that for all the victims, even the ones who haven't come forward and said their piece or tried to hold him accountable. They still feel some form of solace in Cassie coming out and of people speaking up and him being held accountable, even if it's in the eye of the public. He's been held accountable because there have not been any legal charges that have been brought against him just yet. But I definitely believe that there could likely be some, coming down the pipeline.
Thank you so much for that. So now we're going to take a moment to hear some words from Diddy's ex-bodyguard. He has been really sounding the alarm on Diddy for a while now. And now it seems that he's also trying to distance himself from taking responsibility of what he has witnessed and not reporting it to the police. But let's take a listen.
How many times did you personally witness him be violent towards women?
Around 4 or 5 times.
These bombshell allegations leveled by Diddy's former bodyguard, Roger Bonds.
And was that all with Cassie, or was it Cassie and other women?
I seen him with Cassie, and I seen him with Kim Porter, his kid's mother.
Kim passed away in 2018 after a sudden bout with the flu. But while they were together, Roger told Piers Morgan,
I seen him smack her, And one thing about Kim is Kim got to the point where she fought back because she realized how powerful she was.
Roger, who worked for Diddy from 2003 to 2012, says he also witnessed a 2009 incident involving Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, one described in her lawsuit. She accused Diddy of, quote, pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face.
They continued to fight for about another block or two. I went and checked on her every day. She showed me some bruises on her chest, and she showed me her eye, and she just started crying.
The bodyguard spoke out after CNN exclusively obtained and broadcast this disturbing video of Diddy beating Cassie in an LA hotel in 2016, and only hours after Combs apologized publicly.
I was up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses.
When I look back, he's a king manipulator. He can manipulate anything and anyone. Money and power is what he's all about. You know, having conversations with him throughout the years, he has a God syndrome. I do really feel like other people are going to come forward.
And now a former good friend of Cassie's is coming forward to say that she feared for Cassie's safety and her own.
We were always scared of Puff. Like, he's a powerful person, and we don't know what would happen to us if we spoke out.
Mila Morales, a makeup artist who worked with both Diddy and Cassie, spoke with our special correspondent, Page Six's Carlos Greer.
Did you know about the physical abuse? Did you ever hear stories or beating her?
I did not know. But I witnessed it.
Mila recounted an incident at the Beverly Hills Hotel one Grammy weekend more than a decade ago.
What did you hear? What did you think you were witnessing?
I don't even want to like go back to it because it's like it's triggering. All I witnessed was him walking into the room and saying, "Where the f- is she?" And I didn't know what was going on because I was like, I just woke up from a slumber, and next thing you know, all I hear from the bedroom was, you know, just I don't want to like go back and think about.
So you're at Beverly Hills Hotel. You know, you hear something. You don't see Puffy actually physically attacking her, but you hear something.
I did not know what was going on. All I can think of was to get her out of there.
What happened when she appeared?
All right. So can we
her?
pause the video
What
for a
she
second? Because this is where I start to get pissed off. First of all, Roger witnessed her actually being beat up and saw her bruises. He did not call the police. Let's just start there. So my question to you ladies is he complicit? Now, in terms of the makeup artist, I heard her contradict herself. She heard it, she witnessed it, but she didn't know. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. So especially when she was talking, that was extremely triggering for me in particular. My question to you ladies is, do you believe that these two in particular, but everyone who was in his camp, do you believe that they're also complicit in Cassie's abuse and Diddy's abuse towards other women? Let's start with Rosalind.
Oh, I've already stated that. Absolutely complicit. I'm scratching my head. That looks like a big man talking to Mr. Morgan. I'm sure there were times when he could have literally intervened. So, yes, absolutely. There is no reason why. Let me make this point about a bully. If you're dealing with a bully one-on-one, easy to get rid of you. But if people came together collectively to handle Mr. Combs early on, I truly believe that so many people's lives could have been saved. The quality of their lives could have been saved, and we would have a lot less traumatized people, and this evil would not have spread. So absolutely, anybody who was in the know is complicit. And that sounds maybe harsh, but when people do nothing, evil spreads.
Absolutely. Candace, what's your take?
I agree, but when you think about who Diddy is, and it has been stated in the level of power he has, and you know, even throughout the music industry, we've seen him in proximity to Biggie and to Tupac, and people become unalive, right? Shine went to prison on his behalf, so there has just been a history of him getting over and overcoming in situations that were pretty strenuous. I recently watched something, a documentary, like a brief documentary about it, and they really went back to a lot of the crimes that I remember and I recall him being involved in or having something to do with, even early on in his career, and been able to come out unscathed. So when you have something like that, it's really hard for people to gather up, or even just to get people on board early on in order to help him get help and help intervene on some of these matters. Even the bodyguard, right? He could have lost his life going to the police and reporting it. And that is very unfortunate, but power, money, access, it's really hard to overcome, even when you cross out of the entertainment industry into politics, into all of the other facets in the world. Money and power rules, and Diddy had that throughout the last 20 years. So I would love for us to say it would have been great for all of these people who were in his camp and who stood by and knew about some of these crimes and didn't speak up, to have spoken up and to done something early on. But when you think about money and power and all of the other criminals who have gotten away with it in the past, it's really hard and a difficult thing to do. So I'm just trying to look at it from a different perspective.
Thank you so much for that, Candace. Athena, I'm looking at these comments. I don't know if you see the comments, girl.
Yes, I see the comment section is on fire today.
It's in full effect. So Miss Lady says, to answer the question that I posed, yes, but if he intervened, who's to say he wouldn't have just gotten fired and she still stayed? I don't know, but I know about me, there's certain things that you can't get me to do. It doesn't matter how much money you would offer me or how much I'm getting paid, because integrity is priceless. The other comment, Athena, that I saw this is from Focused Guy. He says, come on, y'all, let's stay focused. Sean did this, not his employees. What's your take?
I actually agree with Focus Guy. And as I was sitting here thinking through it, Diddy was a billionaire, especially when he launched his drink brand, right? And when you are on billionaire status, and with that amount of power, money, and influence, you can erase people off earth and no one can find them. So from the perspective of safety, you definitely, even if you were to go to authorities, there have been speculations about people in upper crust and hidden hands and all of those things. Even if you were to go to the authorities, how do you know that he wouldn't be able to pay the authorities off like he did that hotel, the people working at that hotel that day? So if I was an employee, the first thing I would do is get the hell out of Dodge. But the second thing, if I was to really come forward to say something, I would now question, is my life at stake now? Is my family at stake now? Besides the paycheck that I'm getting from this work, which I wouldn't be able to stick around debauchery like that, because I feel like once you're around that energy, it just comes to you, like things will just negatively attach to you. So I have empathy for people who were around that did not necessarily step up at the time. I think the beauty of this situation is that since Cassie has kind of led the charge, people feel more comfortable of saying something, because they know that he's being looked at right now. So he's not in a position to retaliate in any kind of way. I'm curious to see in the next coming days if there is indictments finally being dropped and to comment on someone's comment in the comment section saying that, do we think that Diddy will go to jail? I think he'll be indicted, but I don't know if he'll be in a jail, because from the apology video, he looks like he's out of the country. He looks like he just flew his jet to a country where there's no extradition. So he might be with Russell vacationing and eating mango in Bali somewhere.
Thank you so much for that, Athena. I see these comments coming in on the screen. Somebody said that Cassie had more responsibility to tell than others. Candace, what's your take on that? And then I definitely want to hear from you, Rosalind.
I agree. I agree that she had a long-term relationship with him for over a decade. So she had the authority. She had the position to speak up. Some of the other victims are just people who had a happen chance encounter with him, or who kind of was just in his camp, but her having a real valid relationship, us publicly knowing that he should have loved her, and he said he loved her, and treating her this way really validates a lot of the the reason why she should be the one speaking up. And it definitely, like, as I mentioned, empowered others. It's the same as when you work in any corporation. Diddy, essentially being a billionaire, being a mogul, is a corporation, right? And people stay in their companies and their jobs and stand by, even if they know that bad behavior is happening, because of their own livelihood. So, and when the most powerful person, when someone at the bottom speaks up, it really just gets swept under the rug and they go away and nothing happens. But when someone up top and who has the power to speak up and the authority speaks up, then that's when the floodgates begin to open up. I know personally, because I worked in corporate America for a long time, and I've seen a lot of this type of things play out in the corporate structure. And again, Diddy being a music mogul essentially is a corporate structure.
Thank you for that. Rosalind, what about the NDA? Everybody who works for him has to sign an NDA. And I heard that people even have to sign NDAs and take their clothes off and put on other clothes when they go to these freak offs. So in terms of his staff witnessing the abuse, what about the NDA? Does that prevent them from speaking up?
Well, if they're signing NDAs, I mean, we're bringing a whole bunch of complexity into these situations. And bottom line, it's about the people themselves. Let's just strip them all of their status, and it's about, I think, in the final analysis, just humanity. Just the humanity of the situation. So yeah, you get all these complexities, NDA, you get money, you get all these complexities, you get needs that people need fulfilled in weird and different ways. People who are trying to break into the industry, you get all of those. And unfortunately, it really is I think a deeper issue of ethics and power, greed, and people finding themselves in the midst of those situations. And you can get caught up if your motives are sometimes unaligned with just being human and being healthy and just interacting in wholesome ways. And if I can, really quick, I want to interweave the bigger picture into this, because let's just face it. You have youth, you have those impressionable Black folks, unfortunately, consciously, unconsciously, they're into media. They're trying to understand how Black men and Black women should be interacting. And it might be foolhardy, but the impressionable folks are looking to media. They themselves may have been abused. They may have seen domestic abuse growing up themselves. And they're wondering if Black men and Black women can have healthy relationships. They're wondering if there is such a thing as Black love. They're wondering, is there always going to be this deep pain between Black men and Black women? And unfortunately, sometimes we look to role models. They shouldn't be, but we look to the rappers, we look to people in entertainment, sports, actors, all that. We look to them for direction. And to me, somebody like a Diddy or a Cosby or some other of Black greats who are very, very talented and rich, unfortunately, impressionable Black folks are looking at them. And in some ways, I'm talking about the impressionable ones, they will walk away being given permission that this is what Black relationships look like. This is what power looks like. It's a permission. And so on a big scale, this is what breaks my heart. I would love to see more Black folks in positions that could really model Black love.
Thanks so much for that insight, ladies. Audience, if you're just tuning in, we're having a conversation about Diddy. Diddy's ex, Misa Hilton, spoke out. She made a statement yesterday or a couple days ago about the impact that the video of him beating Cassie has had on her. She said that the video opened up old wounds. We are here on FlyNubianQueenTV.com. These are our weekday Fly Nubian Money panels, and we're here weekdays, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Please text the word Queens, Queens, to the number 87948. That's Queens to the number 87948. So you'll be notified when we do go live. You'll get the topic for the day. You'll also be informed when we have special events, free giveaways, and special offers, etc. Be sure to hit the like button, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So thank you, ladies, for that last round of discourse. I do want to note that she's not the only person that has said over the years that Diddy has beat her. I think we've had that conversation before. I just wanted to reiterate that for the audience. I think Cassie was being strategic. She waited for the Survivors Act, right before that expired. She waited after her NDA expired, and she lawyered up and she hit hard. So it seems that Cassie, was more interested in bringing Diddy down and destroying his legacy than the $30 million. And I also want to note that, because Candace made an excellent point, that Diddy as a mogul is a business, right? You can think of how he conducts his business, or you can look at his business as a corporation. Cassie was an artist. The sky was the limit for her. She was hot. She was popping during that time. My opinion is that Diddy's abuse and that horrible experience with him stifled her career and made her lose out on potentially millions of dollars. So I also wanted to bring that into the conversation. But as we move forward in the conversation, I do want to steer the conversation in a different direction. We've been focusing a lot on what Diddy has said, what people close to him have been saying and weighing in on this conversation. We do have a video by Dr. Umar Johnson, and he has a very strong opinion in terms of what this situation is about. So let's get to that part.
Down. So there are white folks who want to destroy Puff, and that's why all this is happening right now. Just like Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, whether or not they were guilty has nothing to do with the takedown. So Puffy sues the big liquor company for racial discrimination, failing to properly invest in Ciroc and De Leon, and here we are. If you think those two things are unrelated, something's wrong with you. If you think those two things are unrelated, something is wrong with you.
Candace? Candace, please start us off with this one.
I don't subscribe personally to, Diddy has shown his own character and his own behavior. So I don't subscribe personally to someone specifically trying to bring us down. That could very well be true. Like, multiple things can be true at one time. And one of them, it could be Dr. Umar's perspective about the man or the white man, or the, trying to bring black men down or Diddy down or whatnot. But I honestly feel that all of these folks are responsible for their own behavior, their own actions. They're being held accountable because of their actions and behavior, and not because of what someone said that they did, but simply because of their own actions. So really, that is the fact, plain and simple, in spite of someone's opinion about someone else targeting him. That could very well be true, but I believe that this is all happening because of Diddy's actions and not because of someone else wanting to bring him down.
Thank you. Miss Athena, ma'am, does this take accountability away from Diddy? Is this a conspiracy? What do you think about Dr. Umar's words?
Just like Candace said, multiple things can be true. And I love a good conspiracy theory. Okay, so Dr. Umar and the conscious community, and he always gives these perspectives. What I will say is this: when, as Black people, we are building these businesses and we're making deals with people a part of the dominant culture on that level, who are giving you opportunities to kind of make you a billionaire, because Diddy did have money, power, and influence, but he did not reach billionaire status until he made that liquor deal and partner in that way. Do you think that people are going to come and do business with you, people on that level, people on billionaire status, which a lot of them do a lot of debauchery stuff? I'm not going to go deep into that. You think they're gonna do a deal with you and make you a billionaire and not know all of your dealings? You think they don't have a file on you about some of the stuff that you're doing? You think that those same people have not been to some of those parties or had engaged in the same behavior that Diddy does? So I do agree with Dr. Umar to some extent that after that whole lawsuit, it seems like things came out afterwards. But on the other side of that is they can't throw you to the fire or expose you if you're not doing anything to be exposed. So two things can remain true at the same time. I do think that, handlers decided, all right, you're going to sue us. All right, we're going to just, this file of all this debauchery for you, we're just going to release it to the wild now. And I also think, but this is, conspiracy theory. So this is not a fact. So let me preface by saying that first. I think the raid wasn't just to collect evidence on Diddy, because the raid was leaked and cameras and reporters were already there before the FBI even got there. So that's how you know it got leaked. I think a part of that raid was to see if they can gather things that he may have on other people, the same people who potentially let the floodgates open, and to collect that information. Because when you're someone like Diddy engaging in those type of activities, having freak offs, having all those kind of parties, you have footage of all the people who have engaged in those things, right? Diddy might be like a Epstein. He might have records of who was there, what they were doing, videotapes, all of that. You think these people are not going to come and try to make sure that he doesn't have anything on them? I think that was also a part of what the rate is. And last comment would be, if you are that rich, so Diddy's a billionaire, but the people who made him a billionaire have way more than him, right? If you are that rich, you have influence in a way, you basically act above the law. You basically can afford to pay somebody off, you own the police and all of that. So I think there's a level to this where power plays are being moved by hidden hands that we don't understand or know.
Got you. Thank you so much for that. So what we do know is that no white man or liquor company beat Cassie in the hallway, Rosalind. So therefore, what is Dr. Umar Johnson talking about?
I don't know how you walk through this world, but I walk through this world with certain understandings that the white man, there's some good white folks out there, but I understand as I walk through the world that I'm walking in territory where folks are observing me, where institutions are leaning towards white privilege. I walk through the world understanding that, and no amount of money is going to change the fact that you're Black. No amount of money. I don't care if you're making billions of dollars. I don't care if you're making $2.95 an hour. It doesn't matter. So it was absolutely a part of megalomania. Again, I like that word, that Diddy could somehow believe that he's above anything, because who holds the puppet strings? And so therefore, the bottom line is, I think as a result of knowing this is how I carry myself in the world, I'm aware of that. Not that I'm looking for conspiracies under every rock. You have to prove it to me that there's things like racism going on. It has to be evident to me before I act or whatever. But because we live in this environment, a thinking person would know not to put themselves in a position like Diddy. I mean, Diddy is talented. Diddy has been covered by folks because he was making them money, all of this, but he's still a Black man. So Umar, both things can be true. Umar's right. We all live under conspiracy. Look, we're all under conspiracy. We're all living underneath we're in hostile territory. So it's foolhardy for Diddy to think that he could get away. If anything else, I'm more squeaky clean. I'm squeaky clean. So that's just my take.
Thank you for that. And listen,
can I just double down really on that? I think it was mentioned earlier on the video from The Bodyguard about Diddy having a godlike personality or character, right? So his ego, which was displayed in the apology video, also shows that he is self-serving, right? So money, power only fueled a really bad character to have such an inflated ego that made him forget that he lived in white society.
Absolutely. And I remember that song from Bad Boy. I don't know if it was Diddy's song, but I know Lil' Kim did the hook. Money, power, respect is the key to life. Money, power, respect. And I forget the rest of it. But yeah, he definitely had a godlike complex. It is a well-known fact amongst journalists that the FBI and police often leak raids to news agencies for the coverage, especially if it's a big media personality such as Diddy. Don't know what was going on, but they said that there were tunnels under his mansion, and he has been suspected of sex trafficking as well. So I wanted to throw that in there. Moving along in the conversation, we know that 18 brands have now cut ties with Diddy. So in Australia, they're trying to get all of Diddy's music taken off the radio. We know that Peloton has cut ties with him. So if you have any Peloton merchandise, workout bike, or any of their exercise equipment, or if you use their app for your own exercise at home, they have removed Diddy's music from that. Is Diddy done? 18 brands cutting ties with him shows that economically he is being cut off at the knees. What's your take on this, Athena?
Well, is Diddy done? I do think I have two opinions on this. So I do think he's done as far as being the public face of anything. I do think that a lot of his revenue streams are drying up and his potential to make future income is very severe, right? Do I think that he can still make money? Yes, I think he can take the money he currently has and invest it and live off of those investments. I also think what he will probably do, especially in the case that he decides to move to some country far away that has no extradition and does not actually end up in jail, he will probably create a shell corporation that is anonymous, that no one can find out that is him, and can do business dealings that way. A lot of people do that as well. So I don't, even though he's receiving some financial consequences at this point in time, I don't think that he is done. I don't think he will be done until he is physically in or under the jail.
Got you. Thank you. And there was another video that I saw that Dr. Umar Johnson did, and he claimed that Diddy is not done because all he's going to do is probably turn to a pastor, someone like TD Jakes, and become a pastor, and start a ministry, and he's going to make more money than he ever did as a music mogul. That's according to Dr. Umar Johnson's statement that he issued days ago. I also want to throw into the conversation before we conclude that as recently as yesterday, Diddy was sued by a former model who claims that he drugged her and sexually assaulted her. Mm-hmm. Now, this also happened allegedly years ago involving a white model by the name of Crystal McKinney, and she claims in the suit obtained by TMZ in 2003, when she was 22 years old, she was invited to a men's fashion week event in downtown New York City. She met Combs at the event and he invited her back into his studio. She says shortly after their arrival, Combs and several colleagues were drinking Hennessy and passing around joints. She took a hit, which she said was very powerful, and felt as if she was floating. She claims the joint had been laced with a narcotic or other drug. Crystal says Combs then demanded she follow him to the bathroom, where she says he forced himself on her, began kissing her, and shoved her head down his crotch before commanding her to blanket. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there. This is an extremely draining and disgusting topic. I felt very dirty, even just listening and watching all of this stuff and learning about these free calls and all of these allegations, and definitely watching the video. We clearly can go on for days let's get your last thoughts, ladies, and your contact information. Let's start with you, Candace.
It could go on for days. I honestly think that Diddy is done as far as his public persona. He will not be received to the general public and his past fan base the same. I believe that plenty of people will not want to get close to him or touch him because of this spilling over to them. So I think that he's done when it comes to his moguldom. I believe that this is going to suck up all his money, and he won't have much to withstand in the very end. But I don't think that's going to happen without more matters coming forward, without more criminal, dealings and conversations coming forward. And I personally believe that there is a RICO charge coming down the pipeline, and all of this stuff is going to help contribute to that.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. Oh, excuse me. Before you go, Rosalind, Candace, where can we find you? Tell us about where we can find you.
You can find me on social media at PYT Candace on Instagram, or at liveoutlive_LA on Instagram.
Thank you so much. Rosalind, over to you. Last words and where we can find you.
I think like a Kelly, Cosby, or O.J. Simpson. This man is gone from the public eye, and that he should be thrown underneath the jail cell. And it's going to be interesting to see as we continue. There's going to be a whole lot of other stories added to the stories that we already know. You can find me on LinkedIn, Rosalind Henderson on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Athena?
Last thoughts. I will concur with Candace. I do think that this is a play for a higher, bigger RICO charge. I do think that more people are participating or coming forward because I think that the feds are probably building a bigger case and will probably be looking for more testimonials and witnesses. If you are interested in finding out what I'm doing, where I'm at, you can always go to my website, wewealthwomen.com. I am Athena Gardner, CPA and women's wealth coach. And if you're interested in creating your own wealth as a woman, instead of potentially getting into a disaster trying to live off someone else's wealth, you can find a list of resources there at wewealthwomen.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And shout out to the audience and everyone who has shared their comments and their time. I want to thank you, queens, for tuning in with us. Again, we're here weekdays, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time at flynubianqueentv.com. Be sure to text the word Queens with an S, QUEENS, to the number 87948. That number again is 87948. Text the word Queens, QUEENS there. Whew, okay, my final words and my final thoughts. Take care of yourself and each other. Make sure that you are limiting the amount of content on this topic that is potentially triggering. Check in on your friends, family members, relatives who may be victims of domestic violence or who may have suffered domestic violence. And yes, definitely share with them, or you can call the National Domestic Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. Let me redo that again. If you or anyone you know has experienced domestic violence or is currently experiencing domestic violence, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 7233. The number again is 1-800-799-SAFE. And SAFE, when you punch it on your phone, it's 7233. I want to thank you all again for tuning in. Let's keep these conversations going and definitely check in on each other and limit the amount of content that you are consuming that could be potentially damaging, because this is a very damaging topic and it's not going away anytime soon. So just be very, very mindful of that. Thank you all again, ladies. This has been an excellent panel. I'm really grateful to have been here with you all, Candace, Rosalind, and Athena. And we'll see you all again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Take care.